I wasn't a drug addict or a criminal overnight, right? I have 27 felonies on my record. That's just what I got caught for. So we were raised LDS. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. Mom had an affair, and I was the result of that. Never really had a relationship with who my real father was. The Other Side Academy was an opportunity that was presented to me in lieu of my prison sentence.
Just a couple of years ago, I stumbled upon a program that is saving taxpayers millions of dollars to reform the lives of criminals and ex-convicts. This organization is called the Other Side Academy, and it's growing here in Utah, and it's changing and shaping the way we think about prison and prison reform. So I'm sharing with you over the next few months stories of people from that program, and it's my pleasure to present to you today the story of Jordan Holdawell. How do you go from being the bad kid in school, getting in trouble, turning your life around to such a degree that now you're a part of a really successful construction company?
So kind of on a roll of the dice from a prosecutor. Prosecutor said, you know, you've done it this time. We'll give you a shot to try this program, but you're going to plead guilty to everything that we've got you for. So we've got, you know, a significant amount of time over your head, and we're going to let you go to the Other Side Academy. And all I knew about it really was it was run by some ex-convicts who had come from California, and it was sort of a boot camp for career criminals and, you know, habitual criminals that had been in and out of the system. And it was, you know, the way I was going to stay out of prison. And that was what it was to me at first, right? It was an opportunity to get out of the jam I'd gotten myself in. I was sick of the life I was living, but I didn't know how to get out of it, you know? So we were raised LDS. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. Mom had an affair, and I was the result of that, right? And so mom and my brother and sister's dad, that's who I knew as my dad. Never really had a relationship with who my real father was. But anyways, they divorced when I was about 6 years old. Tried to make it work. Didn't work out. Mom moved me and my brother and sister back here to Utah into the LDS community that we had grown up in. And so now here's kind of this stigma, right? So I'm 6, 7 years old. And so I kind of started in this whole world of being an outsider at that point. And I couldn't put it together in my head. I was too young to understand, but there was something about me that felt as though I didn't belong to this group of people. And I wanted to belong. I did everything that I could. I yearned to belong to this group and that group and whatever. And so when there's kind of that openness, of not fitting in, you're going to find it somewhere. I would come down to Salt Lake City in the summertime and hang out at a YMCA camp. That was, you know, my mom would put me in this YMCA camp, make sure I had some structure and was doing some stuff. And there was a lot of inner city kids. And so I started picking up on some of their behaviors, and then I'd take it back to suburban, you know, Mormonville where I was, and I'd get a reaction. And so here was that identity started to build. And so you ask, how do you help somebody that's edging towards that thing? I think they're looking for something to belong to, and you've got to find that right fit for them, you know?
And I see the world today compared to how I grew up, and I had a lot of energy, but I had a lot of outlets. Like, just, I could just run around my neighborhood in the mountains, wherever I wanted. I was just free range kid. And kids don't have that so much today. A lot of them just play video games a lot. They get their stimulation from screens. And I'm like, God, how do you deal with all that energy? And it just seems like medication's common these days, but I think finding that proper outlet has got to be critical.
We've kind of shot ourselves in the foot. I think, you know, society-wise, I have a 17-year-old, so you see it. They would rather watch somebody else do things on a screen than actually experience them themselves.
Yeah, and the other thing I notice I've only observed your crew twice, but nobody's standing around watching. Yep. And they're all really engaged. It seems like that the work ethic is instilled into the program. How do you do that?
You know, when you come in there, the culture is established, right? So the culture is established. When I walked in there, I've been to prison multiple times. First time I walked into prison, the prison culture was established. When you walk into it, that is what you're going to be surrounded with. Those are what is going to be thrown at you. At the Other Side Academy, the culture of hard work, self-sufficiency, honesty, integrity, commitment, all those things, it's established. So when
baked into that cake.
It's baked in.
Right.
So when you come in there, that's what you're instantly met with. And you learn real quick at the academy. It's established. It is what it is. And you know, nobody at the academy is, all these guys, they're it's not costing them anything to come there. There's no fees for the students. We don't take federal or state funding. We don't take any tax dollar money. So we are literally generating our own revenue. And that's a part of the buy-in process, right? You're going to pay. You got your life messed up. You're going to pay with your hard work and your effort to get out of it. And at the same time, you're going to learn how to function in real time with the stresses of employment, work, responsibilities, all these things while you're working on the problems inside of yourself. The academy is very intense, very upfront. And so the pace is set for you, right? And I don't know, it's just human nature, I guess. Where you get dropped into, the tank you get dropped into, you're gonna sink or swim. And the guys that are gonna swim, you see the product is that they're hardworking. And we have a 5-star construction company. We have a 5-star moving company. We have 5-star thrift stores. All of our businesses are running like crazy because our guys aren't distracted. What we try to do is we try to match what's going to be best for the student in the situation that they're in, right? And so that's a big deal to try and figure those pieces out, because some guys, maybe they've got years of construction experience, but going into the construction team for us, maybe that wouldn't be the best fit for them because that's kind of what they've hidden behind their whole life, right? And so, but other times, maybe we need a guy to help do some of these things, right? And what it'll benefit the guys that don't have enough knowledge. So it's a constant balance. There's a lot of balls in the air that we're juggling to try to figure that piece out.
It sounds like they're really getting a vocation. If they're going from cleanup crew to crew boss and they're learning all these skills along the way, can they go out and get really good jobs working for construction companies?
Yeah, our graduates are highly sought after. So I've had guys that have skills that have worked, been on our crew the entire time that they've been there. And what they've really done is refined those personnel skills, right? Like you're talking about the management skills, their interpersonal skills. Because a lot of these guys have maybe worked some construction their whole life. But why do they always lose their job? Because they fall short in character defects and certain things, right? They lie at the wrong time. They're showing up late to work. They're doing this or that. So maybe those are the things that those guys need to really polish and get into a place and learn how to be a team player, learn how to deal with it when the boss tells you something that's hard to hear.
Is it hard going back and reintegrating with society in a normal way?
So we have, you don't have to leave it 2 years if you don't want to. You can stay as long as you want because we're not based off a funding model. So again, I stayed 4 years, even though I did start over, but I still stayed 4 years. And we oftentimes have guys stay 3-4 years and stick it out. Now you're probably referring to the 2-year guys who are going to get out there. Mm-hmm. Either way, whether you're a 4-year guy or a 2-year guy, we have a phenomenal transition program. That's a year-long program for our graduates. And during that time, we're going to offer affordable housing. So the first few months that they're there, they can live there rent-free. They can save up their money. Every one of our graduates has a job waiting for them when they walk out the door. We find them a job. They don't have to go out there and search and get on the buses and do this stuff. We'll hand them a set of keys to one of our cars and say, you can use the vehicle. Go out there. You can use our car until you've got enough money saved up to get your own vehicle. We'll guide them through the process of their money. Mountain America Credit Union, Ally Bank. We have all these great relationships with these different entities, and they will come in and spend that time over that next year teaching these guys how to manage their money, how to save their money. We have a match program that they can get involved in where if over this year's time they save $5,000, we'll match that $5,000 for them.
I've talked to so many homeless people, been through Odyssey House. They're everywhere. You see them all over the valley. Those are 90-day programs. It just doesn't seem like you can change somebody's behavior in 90 days. It doesn't sound like
you're just scratching the surface. You're just barely starting to, if that person's been clean off of drugs for 90 days in that period of time, their brain's just starting to defog. And we go through that at the academy, right? You're dealing with those things. You're just getting to know who they are. You're just getting to know those things. So, about a year into the process, maybe 15 to 18 months, people are starting to actually make some changes. That's why it's critical to stay until you know that you're ready.
what can you do with this big population of people out there on the streets to begin to get through to them that they just have to somehow stop? It just seems like their brains are just reformatted to just go after that substance now. Do you see any solution to that problem in the short term?
I think there has to be consequences for our actions. I think we've leaned away from that. We've gotten softer. Now, granted, there's people that are drug addicts, and I was a drug addict. It skews your brain. It does some other things, but I was also a lot of other things. And
What was your drug of choice?
I was a meth addict. And so those things dovetail together. There's a whole lot of other things that are going on besides just drug addiction, right? There might be the guy who had a back injury, got on some pain pills, and, then got strung out on that, right? Started losing his job and those different things. But that's a small portion of the thing. There's a whole group of people out there that are committing fraud, crime, stealing, violence, all these other things because they're living in that world of drug addiction. And so as we put this kind of blanket, no consequence thing on being a drug addict, we're now allowing all kinds of other negative behaviors. There's got to be some consequences also for not just for the people that are using and are committing these negative behaviors and doing that stuff, but there needs to be some consequences for our elected officials. There needs to be some consequences for the pharmaceutical companies. There needs to be some consequences for the advertiser and the media that push these agendas on people, right? I get up in the morning and I watch the news, and every commercial that's on in the morning is a new pharmaceutical drug being pushed. They're misprescribing drugs now that are meant for one cause, to help people with weight loss, to help people with all these things, right? Just this society that we've created of this deal. So accountability, consequence.
Obviously the other side, Village, wants to tackle mental disorders. That's a huge, huge issue. Do you think that through this same kind of model, they can successfully do that?
I absolutely believe that there is some kind of graceful force or something that is behind, the people at the academy. Joseph, Tim, with their vision of creating the academy, bringing Dave in from Delancey Street. There is nothing I don't think that these men and the vision that they have in their mind can't create and happen, because they've traveled the world. They are investigating what actually works. I mean, that was Joseph's whole goal for starting the Other Side Academy, is he saw that the criminal justice system was broken, and in his years of social science had found things that actually worked. My invitation is anybody that has questions, that wants to see what an effective, we have Fortune 500 companies come and tour our place because they want to institute in their organizations a level of accountability that we have in ours.
If you'd like to be a bigger part of our program, go out to utahstories.com, subscribe to our free digital newsletter, or consider becoming a member for $5 a month. We did introduce a paywall. We had to do it because we have to pay our writers more. With your $5 per month contribution, it goes into examining the powers that control the underbelly of Salt Lake City. And with your contribution, we're going to mail you Faces of Utah magazine. It's a brand new magazine we are launching, and it's full of awesome entrepreneur success stories. But the mission behind it is to help decentralize the economic power in Utah by showing you how to support the best locally owned businesses. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.